Alrighty, it is now December 12th. We are just 8 days away from the official release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. A lot of fans are very worried about this movie, very curious about exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to wrap up the entire Skywalker saga, and let alone the sequel trilogy itself as well. This is Mike ZEROH. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the deal with Palpatine is really the driving force as to the reason as to why a lot of fans want to see this movie and are interested in it, very curious about exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to treat the character of Palpatine and how it's really going to tie directly in to the prequels and the originals and change our review of the past 8 Star Wars movies. Now, through all the changes that Disney and Lucasfilm went through, I've expressed my concerns about this movie, I've expressed my, criticisms about Star Wars under Disney, and that still remains, obviously. Now, this movie, director J.J. Abrams was actually said to make many different risks and bold decisions in The Rise of Skywalker that may not really work well with a lot of fans out there and seem very strange, almost as if it does not belong in a Star Wars movie. But anyways, let's get right to all of this. Now, what's really intriguing about this is that shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that both Kylo Ren and Palpatine are said to meet inside of his hideout on the world of Exegol, where Palpatine begins to talk to Kylo Ren. It's explained that as Palpatine is talking to Kylo Ren, he is said to have white eyes and hooked up to a large rigging machine, where Kylo Ren is explained to be frightened and defensive by witnessing Palpatine after learning that Sidious was behind Snoke the entire time. However, it's noted that in the upcoming novelization, it's set to explain how Palpatine is alive in the film further, and that a part of how he is able to move around and talk in the film is that his body is able to survive by being hooked up to a large crane machine, where Palpatine's spirit is said to be intact within his own body. And that though Palpatine did survive the second Death Star fall at the very end of Return of the Jedi, and was transported to the world of Exegol through a wormhole, it's explained that his spirit is what controls his body that is attached to this rigging machine, where there is even a segment in the film in which Palpatine's arm is hooked up to a large piece of armor, from what it seems where it gives the appearance that Palpatine has a cybernetic arm. However, it's just an exo arm that covers Palpatine's actual arm that provides him the energy he needs to make his body survive, and that his spirit is what controls it all. This was said to be an idea by J.J. Abrams by combining the ideas from the old script of the film and the new script of the movie, and that J.J. Abrams combined both ideas of Palpatine's return in the film to make it unique to the audience, and that most of this will be explained in the novelization. The novel, which is due for release in March of 2020, will tap into the survival of Palpatine and how his body is able to survive in its current form. However, his body in the beginning of the film is said to appear gross and decaying like a corpse. Alright, so let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why I really am not impressed with a couple of these decisions here by Disney and Lucasfilm. I gotta give you guys my honest opinion on all of this. Now, number one by Disney is that a majority of this is going to be explained in the novelization in March of 2020. That is one of the big problems by Disney right now, is that a lot of things are being explained in this movie in the form of a book. And we're not going to be learning the full picture until March of next year, which even though I think a lot of fans really aren't going to care at this point, because at this point in time, a lot of fans really are fed up with the Star Wars sequel trilogy and how things are really going. So, Palpatine being hooked up. I want to talk about this crane machine, alright? Now, I don't know if you guys ever saw the art book of The Force Awakens, but Kylo Ren originally was hooked up to this machine, and his arm was also in that cybernetic exo arm. The same exact thing applies here for Palpatine. It seems that JJ went into the art book of The Force Awakens, took inspiration from Kylo Ren's original design, and used that for Palpatine and how he's able to survive in the film. Now, that's not to say how he survived the second Death Star. This is how Palpatine is able to survive in present time. This is how he is surviving in The Rise of Skywalker, so to speak. So, as we went over at the very end of Return of the Jedi, apparently he used a wormhole to travel, from the second Death Star over to the world of Exegol. It was at his arrival on Exegol where his body needed to be supported by his spirit, and it's actually the spirit that controls his body that's hooked up to a rigging machine. Now, this rigging machine, alright, we actually got a little glimpse of it in the final trailer of The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if you guys saw this, but in the rigging machine, there's actually said to be LED lights on the back, and you can see that in the final trailer. It's very, very vague, hard to see, but he is hooked up to it, and it does lift him up in the sky from time to time. The thing about Palpatine's appearance in this film, I think some people are going to be a little mixed on, because in the beginning of the film, he's not going to appear like Palpatine at all. Not like the Palpatine that we know and love, at least. Basically, the Palpatine in the very beginning of the movie is going to appear like a dead corpse. Literally, he's going to have white, dead eyes, no pupils, no iris, no nothing. Just white eyes, just a sclera, essentially. Or, you know, basically that only part of the eye is going to show. And that part of the eye is later going to be filled in as the yellow traditional Sith eyes when he uses the Force Drain ability on Rey and Kylo. So that's where the actual Palpatine will appear. So really, if you think about it, since there's only 12 minutes of screen time of Palpatine in this movie, and yes, there's only 12 minutes of him in the movie, you have a short, brief scene in the very beginning showing the dead corpse of Palpatine that is still alive because his spirit is controlling it, and it's inside of his body, and it's hooked up to that rigging machine. But at the very end of the film, we will only get the real Palpatine that we know and love at the very end of the movie, which is only going to be around 6 minutes, give or take, maybe 6 or 7 tops, and that's it. And that's going to fly by quickly, I can tell you right now, because the entire movie is literally being hyped up for the return of Palpatine and the appearance of Palpatine. And this also lines directly up with why they are not showing Palpatine in the trailers. They don't want to show his appearance looking like a dead corpse in the trailers, giving it away. That's the main reason, is because Palpatine's going to have a brand new look in this film, where he's going to have the white eyes, and his face is going to be all deteriorated, and he's going to look quite creepy. Now, I think that a lot of fans out there are not really prepared for this, and I think that when we look at Palpatine here in The Rise of Skywalker, I will say that if you're going to bring him back in the flesh, having him attached to a rigging machine and having him being controlled by a spirit, it almost comes off like he's a puppet attached to like a little machine almost. That's how I imagine it. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how it's going to be executed on the big screen. Still, regardless, a lot of everything that we have been talking about and we have been hearing hasn't been all too impressive, and neither does this really. That's just my own take on things, is that the fact that we don't get the real Palpatine that we know and love at the very beginning of the movie, appearance-wise, and we're only going to get the Palpatine that we recognize at the very end of the movie, seems like another, catch by Disney. It seems like another gotcha moment. Kind of like with The Force Awakens, you got 30 seconds of Luke. Kind of like with The Last Jedi, you got a minute or two of Luke actually fighting, and Luke actually not looking like he's homeless. And then, of course, at the very end of Episode 9, yes, you finally get a couple of minutes of the real Palpatine, and that's it. So, that's the only problem I have, big time. That's my big problem with Disney Star Wars films, is that there's a lot of teases of the things that we really want in these movies. I think the only upside to this movie is that there is going to be quite a number of lightsaber duels, but it seems like that they're going to be brief. Each and every duel is going to be very brief, so it basically adds up to the same exact thing. So, with that being said, everything related to Palpatine here, I would really love to hear what you guys have to say about J.J. Abrams combining the ideas of the original script and the new script, and how that led to the idea of Palpatine's spirit controlling his corpse. And he's still alive, but at the same exact time, he's not alive like how he was in Return of the Jedi. I mean, if that really makes sense, I know it's confusing to some, but that's what it is. That's apparently what it is for Palpatine's return in The Rise of Skywalker. It's going to be more explained in the novelization in March. Most likely is why they have it releasing in March, is because they don't want people finding out the core secrets of it all until then. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
night.